All right, everybody, we are back. Terminator Santos is here. Have no fear. We are going into the end game. I know it's all been a little bit crazy, but before we get into today's lesson, we are going to do some review questions for the coaches and for you guys too, in the Zoom chat for me to answer for me, coaches. What are the two in-game advantages that we need to be hunting for? Coach Daniel, go.
Pass pawn and weaknesses in the opponent's position.
Okay, Coach Joseph, how about you? Two advantages. What you got, Coach Joseph?
Oh, I did in the chat. Sorry.
Oh,
Daniel
okay.
said just pass pawns upon weaknesses.
Okay. I'm glad you guys are paying attention to that. They're not talking about advantages. These advantages are going to like be there for throughout the end game. That's what you want. Get your pens ready, okay? Let's write this down, okay? Good pawn structure. Number one, I got to make sure I have a good pawn structure, and that's an advantage. I know I'm going to win in the end game. The second one that we're always looking for, very easy, it is the material advantage. These are lasting advantages that are going to carry us through the end, and it's going to be super easy. Got it? Advantages. These advantages are what you look for in the end game. Those two. All right, let's go to question number two. Question number two. When should we be exchanging pieces and pawns? Matt, if you know this, anybody out there, put it in the Zoom chat. Let me know. When should we be exchanging pieces? I told you this is kind of like a two-part kind of question here. When should I be exchanging pieces? When should I be exchanging pawns? Yeah, okay. Exchange pieces when you're winning. Correct. Okay.
I was gonna
That
say
is
that.
that's a
And
good
you
answer.
trade pawns when you have more pawns.
Yeah, when you're losing, you got to be careful on the trades, okay? Because you just don't want those pawns to get out of control. Okay, that's when it's okay to trade pawns. And when we're trading pawns, we're going to open up the board, open up the position, and our rooks, our queens, our bishops are going to be very helpful into that. All right, good. I just wanted to check to make sure that's there. All right. If you're on the winning side of the end game, Coach Daniel, we don't want to be trading pawns. Okay. Got to keep everything together. We're trying to improve the position. All right. Um, and again, if you're on the losing side, the defending side, you don't want to make any kind of piece exchanges. We got to have our pieces for tactics. All right, good deal. Last question. What is the golden end game key that I'm always telling you guys to be looking for? We'll talk a lot about this tonight, too. End game key. What if I don't have passed pawns? What should you be looking for? Looking at? Target. Active pieces is a good answer. Pawn majority is good answer. Weaknesses is a good answer. Two, pawn structure, boys. Your pawn structure. Your pawn structure, his pawn structure. Just care everything just about the pawns, okay? It's all about the pawns. One of the things that I like about this image that I have over here with the Terminator Santos is that it's the skeleton, okay? The skeleton of chess is pawns, okay? Pawns are the soul of chess. That's the I can't remember who I got so many quotes in my head here. Who made that claim? Okay, that I think it was Philidor, actually. Yes, you're right. Ha, you're right. You got it faster than I did again. So, anyways, skeleton. Everything else will tell us where to put our pieces. Okay. All right, cool. Let's move forward here. What is end game plan number one, Coach Santos? Endgame plan number 1 is to promote a pawn. Please write that down. Okay, if you haven't heard it enough, promote a pawn. That's what we're looking for, especially tonight. It's always our number 1 in-game strategy. Those strategies are long-term plans, long plan. Okay, of course, this is all next to finding a checkmate, of course. And in every position, we're always going to be on the lookout for the pawn that needs to be promoted. In some positions, there may be a pawn promotion tactic you might find. Those things are hiding, okay? Cool deal. Let's go to the next one here. All right. Next question. Where should we be looking to promote a pawn? Do you have an answer? Put it in the chat real quick. Where should we be looking to promote a pawn?
At the other end of the board.
The other end of the board, okay, where you have a majority. Very good. Very good. I like that. I like that answer. Okay. So, very quick. Just try to, if you can, try to jot it down. It's on the queen side. Generally, it's the queen side. Now, where you have the majority is also the correct answer. Okay. Pawn structures give us plans for both the middle game and the end game. Generally, on a queenside pawn will be that pawn that we're going to need to be considering, because in most chess openings, you're castling on the king side. Okay. And so it's a general rule that we know that any pawn can be promoted. Any pawn can be promoted. And once you kind of get that feel of like where you're supposed to be looking for and you don't find it over there, you can break the rule and try to find it on the other side too. Okay. You're constantly asking yourself questions when you're playing chess. All right. So where should we be looking again? Queenside. Moving to the next question. Okay. What should you do after you found a pawn to promote? Okay.
Push it to the limit.
Pushing it to the limit, pushing it to the max. You got to ask yourself, how can I push it to the max, right? How? Write that down. How can I do that?
When you have a passed pawn.
Okay, cool. Most of the time, we're going to need pieces to assist us. Okay. We'll take a look at that, a deeper look at passed pawns next week. Okay. And then we're going to make things, we're going to try and find that way of how to push them forward. And even if you're on the defending side, you're going to have to find a way to how to stop them, but with pieces, of course. All right. Good. Escorting the pawn is also the correct chess term for that. Okay. Let's roll to the next question. What is the reason that we are needing to look at pawn structures, coach?
To have a
Well,
better endgame.
thank you. Okay. We want that information quickly, David. We want that information quickly. I need to know my end game plan. I know I got to push that pawn. I got to develop that special plan. I want that information. We should be rethinking about our chess openings tonight as we're working with their pawn structures, because when a pawn is pushed, weaknesses are created and some pieces will gonna need to defend that in the end game. Okay. So what should I be paying attention to about the pawn structure? And your answer is pawned islands. You have to look to see how many pawn islands you have and how many your opponent has in the middle game and also the end game. You got it? Please, we're going to be paying a close attention to those center pawns as well. The fewer pawn islands or chains, the easier it is to defend them. Okay. You got too many pawn islands, it's so hard to defend them all. We're trying to eliminate our weaknesses in our end games, coaches, so that we can be able to push forward with our plan to promote. Okay. Cool. Let's go to the next one here. All right. Awesome book time. Yay. I love looking at chess books. Are you ready? Cool. Let's get some, get your pencils ready if you guys
Why
want
are
to get
there
this
two
pin.
white queens in this picture?
Because it's a promoted queen, David. It's a promoted queen. All right. Awesome book time. Here it is. It is called Chess Structures by Grandmaster Flores Rios. Okay. Do you have this book? You don't, maybe you don't, but I would say that I like this book because it points out pawn structures that come out from a lot of chess openings. We're going to be looking a little bit at those tonight. And he helps us to see, like, typical piece play, pawn play, plans for white, plans for black in these high level grandmaster games. Every master that I know in Houston actually has this book. Okay. So it is one of those, like, I want to grab this one when it's on sale. Okay. Don't try to get it when it's like super expensive. Your life will continue if you don't have it. All right. Oh, wait, chess warning. Just warning, before you buy this book, I need to tell you something. It's much more helpful to have private lessons with an experienced coach who's actually an expert at that chess opening that you're studying, because they'll actually have more opening ideas. And I trust those guys, those chess masters that are telling me their openings, teaching that to me, and they've actually used it in a tournament game or two or three that's helped them win prize money. Like, look, coach, you got to see this. And they're also being able to explain to me in better detail the pawn structure, how to work with that pawn structure. And it's a great book. And again, you just probably need somebody stronger to be able to explain those good ideas to you. Okay. Cool deal. Well, it is chess workout time. Are you guys ready to get buff with the chess pieces? All right. What's he talking about? All right. We're going to be doing a little chess workout here, and it is called today's task is identify the pond islands. Woo. I get it. It's a pond island. Okay. All right. Right. Let's move on. All right. So that's all that you're doing. You're trying to ask yourself the question, how many pond islands does black have? All right. How many pawn islands? Let's go. All right. This is called the Isolani, and you can tell it really quickly. White has three, black has two pond islands. Cool. Maybe you've seen this, and these pawn structures come out from, again, a lot of different chess openings. So I can't tell you this one that you need to be studying. All right. They're just looking at the pawn structure. And that's what this grandmaster is doing in the book too. He's showing you this pawn structure. White has three pawn islands, black has two here, trying to find the one. How would I play this to get my pawn to be promoted? What side of the board do I really want to be on?
The
What if my
middle.
king was, where would I would love to bring my king in the middle of this board, right? But again, if you're castling on the king side, typically in these openings, you're going to need to figure out, like, man, what pieces would be most helpful to get there and try to achieve this goal. The Carol Con formation. I've used this. You've played against this before too. All right. Black has two, white has two. The pawn structure and its attention is in the middle. That is what you want to be paying attention to in as we're looking at these pawn formations, pawn structures tonight. Okay. Slav formation. Some of you guys have actually got into this too, where there's two pawns on the queen side, three pawns on the black's queen side. This is the 3-2. You're going to use the quote unquote, hear me out, guys. You got to hear this, the pawn majority. Okay. And pawn minority, excuse me, plan. And so there's plans that go from the using these pawn structures. All right, moving on. Stonewall. I know some players that use Stonewall. All right, and I'm sure you can even flip the position in it with white too. Okay. Coach, how many does white have? That has one, two, three, and black also has one, two, three. A pawn chain is when it's connected. Okay. These pawns are not yet all connected. Got it? Cool. Grunsfeld comes from definitely a queen's pawn type of opening. And as you see here, white has three and black also has three. We're just paying attention to the pawns right now and trying to think about, okay, I'm going to see some files that are going to be opened up here. I'm going to want to put a queen. I'm going to put a rook. I want to get a bishop over here. You're getting a little creative when it's your turn to think. Okay. When it is your opponent's turn, you're trying to also just seeing how, what does he have? The checks, captures, and threats that he has so that you're trying to calculate. Okay. Use your time to plan. Use your time to plan. It's a kung fu move, all right? Using your time to plan. Let's go to the next one. Nardolf. This comes from a Sicilian. This is type 1. Pawn is deep into Black's territory. 3 and 3. Let's do type 2. Same deal. 3 and 3. The C file and the D file are most noticeably opened that we're paying attention to. All right. The hedgehog. I've seen some players use this at tournaments against me too. Black has 2, white has 4. Okay, because they're not connected, they probably will be connected in the near future. Okay, or they might be exchanged. You're just saying if there's a pawn push, there is a plan. If there's no pawn push, no plan. Okay, no pawn push, no plan. Grandmaster Jacob Adger tells that to his students and is also in his positional books. That, there's a plan there or there's not a plan there, and helping students to recognize that. All right, the Maroxy. Again, it's very similar. Black actually has 2, and white again has 4, but he has a very iron strong grip over the center square D5. Okay, let's continue. All right. Let's see. Asymmetric Benoni's. In Benoni's, you have 3 and 3. Okay. And a symmetrical one, it's all pretty much on the same side. The E file is opened up. I've gotten these kind of Benoni's very, very commonly. So yeah. And 3 and 3. King's Indian. I know a lot of King's Indian players out there, and we haven't yet pushed the G pawn one, but there's 3 and 3 here. We are most interested in the pawn structure and how we're going to get piece play. Which pieces are going to be more active than other pieces here? Okay, which ones are also more valuable? So that's where you want to start like thinking about too when you're reaching positions like the King's Indian type 2. Knights are going to be better, queen's going to be better here. How am I going to break in and create some room for my rooks, for my queen? I know that I'm going to be coming into a lot of rook end games and I'm looking for those open files. How can I make an open file? Because I got to push that pawn or one of the pawns to make a queen. Okay. King Indian type 3. Okay. Again, the structure is just a little bit different, but we're still instead of the E pawn now, it's the C pawn is back at home and is keeping it all kind of locked up. Okay. I see this actually in many of my other students' games here. An open King's Indian defense. Okay, the center is opened with the D file with white. Black has the E file. Piece play is happening there. Strong points on the center squares is what you're looking for too. Want to drop a knight there on D5. And that's that kind of stuff that you're looking for. Okay, and also King's Indian complex is like, man, you got so many different like pawn structures that can come out of some of these openings, and that's good for the masters that have the time, but not so good for us, layman people here that are trying to study something, and this is why they make a bunch of money because it's they take the most complicated chess openings for you, Coach Daniel, and they'll make it even more complicated. And as they're looking over games too. All right, French defense. Oh, Coach Daniel, I was talking a little bit about this with you too, and this is one type where the F pawn is gone for the E pawn. So that is an idea that I've seen in many French games actually. Type 2 is actually like that advanced variation where that comes from. The C pawn exchanges for the E pawn. No, sorry, the D pawn. Anyways, what we need to know about this is again you're looking on the center here. White has three pawned islands. Black has only two and can create the minority attack on the queen side of the board. Possibly, like I'm not going to be castling on that side anytime soon. Okay, so all right, let's go on with some miscellaneous 3-4 pawn structures here. On the white has two pawn islands, black has two, but you can see the pawn majorities that we're going to be talking about too. There's a lot of action here. There's a lot of action here, and it's just a matter on like what side do we really want to be on, um, and how do we know the ideas? Because I've beaten chess players before too. I understand the pawn structure better than he does with the Isolani. That was the first one that I was showing you with the IQP. I know how to play against that, and I know how to play with it. So my other student was that I was playing against at the tournament. He was very brand new to these ideas and like I'm paying attention to pawn structures. And I was like, well, this is great. I'm just gonna have to like fizzle it out to the end game. Coach Daniel, Coach Joseph. I'm like so relaxed. And then throughout the opening, throughout the middle game, and then when I'm finally reaching the end game, I am at home because I know all the right plans that I need to do. Position is balanced, and he's running low on time. Panics, game over. All right, Sicilians is where some of these also come from. Here's a bingo. I do like playing sharp like this too, where you're gambiting a pawn, but you got targets on the queen side there for white, 1 and 2. Kind of like an easy job, but Black's attention and focus is all on the queenside pawns here. How are you going to be able to break through? It's so cool. My coach enjoys playing the bingo, and he shows me, of course, some of his awesome games, and I'm like, dude, that's wild. Some people are not really comfortable about giving up a pawn for a piece activity, pawn play, because the end game is fine for Black. And though this is what I see at tournaments a lot too, especially here in Houston. The Rui Lopez or the Italian or the Four Knights, they come out like this in the pawn structure. So try to either keep it closed, like, or they try to open it up. This is kind of, there's always a backwards pawn, and it gets really dicey at times. So, oh wait, was that the closed one? Did I get the closed one here? All right, whatever. All right. So, how'd you do? Did you identify these pond islands very easy? Coach Joseph?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'd
good.
say, yeah.
In the openings that you play, did you find some pawn structures that you have seen before? Because that's what we're here tonight
Yeah,
talking
definitely.
about. Okay,
Yeah.
like coach, I'm winding up, with one of these pawn structures. Maybe it's actually opposite for white or black, but the pawn structure is very, very, very similar. Those things don't change that often, especially among the stronger chess players that are way up there. Okay, the weaker players, they get all kind of messy and stuff, and I don't care too much to study their games. It has so many weaknesses. Okay, all right. So back to pawn structure talk. Okay. I do not wish to discourage any player from playing one particular opening, by the way. We can see that each opening comes with a very different pawn structure, and plans and weaknesses and openings will require like more study time than others because of the complex ideas. You saw the the King's Indian, right? That had like five different pawn structures, guys, and people want to play that. And I'm like, go ahead, I'll win because I'm gonna steer it away from that direction. And I understand those ideas a little bit better, but I know what to again to try to take a look at. So if you know your pawn structure better, Caro-Kann, French defense, Binko, whatever, Benoni's, you're gonna be in the driver's seat. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to be paying attention to when you're studying chess in games. Okay, this is a real reason why I don't want students to constantly be switching chess openings, Coach Daniel, because they feel like just because they feel like it. You know, they're even doing it like before or during a tournament. I'm like, no, don't mess with what you already have up here to try to think you're tricking somebody. You know, you're only making it harder for yourself. It's a very bad idea. Plans will become confusing because you're mixing up ideas. And again, you don't know sometimes what you're heading into. So this is the real reason why grandmasters give you those pro tips of like, just like study a few openings. You're like, why? Because there's a very good reason. All right, because there's a very good reason. We're almost done here. Okay, back to pawn structures. We need to be careful with our pawn moves. Don't make many moves unless it's necessary. Most common in amateur games, there's so many weaknesses that have come out in these pawn positions here and it just creates more targets. And post-game reviews, I see something that is that I'm always like trying to talk to students about. Here's your pawns are also targets. You're pushing them when not thinking too much. Okay, kind of almost an easy idea. They're not well at defending, even at the top levels too. You push a pawn, you're going to create a weakness. Pawn structures give us also very good battle plans. So when an opponent has pushed a pawn, this is what you should be thinking. Great, he weakened up his position. Did you catch that? He weakened up his position. You can write this down too, okay? How can I attack it now? I'm going to need to use my pieces, but which one, coach? Okay. Well, we're starting off right now with just a few pieces. We're starting off with just the pawns, and now we're going to introduce the king. We're going to be activating the king. So what is the in-game plan number 2? I just gave it away. Josiah's here, coming in. How are we looking on time, Coach Daniel?
10 minutes till the
10
tournament.
minutes.
Okay, good. All right. So, in-game plan number 2. Are you ready with me? Activate the king to the center. Centralizing your king will be able to get that guy into action as soon as possible. Many chess players forget this idea, and grandmasters often give it a big chapter in their books. Okay, activating the king. But if you know it, then it's like, okay, I might want to see some examples from the openings that I'm playing. Does that make sense? Like, I want to see how, if I'm playing the French defense, for example, I want to see how this king is, going to an end game. Okay, when is he coming out? And what's again his battle plans? That's what I'm looking for when I'm studying Grandmaster games. I'm trying to go like forward here with my king, and I'm trying to make sure I help the right pawn. Okay, and you should be watching for that too in these games that you're studying, supposed to be studying. All right, time for another awesome book. Get your pens ready. You might want this one too. I'm sure some of you guys out there have already have this one too. This one is called Silman's Complete In-Game Course. I like this book because it doesn't overload students with more than they should be trying to learn. Okay, it's divided up into chapters according to your chess rating, which I think is helpful. So if I'm teaching a younger kid, then it's like, well, again, I don't want to overload him on with something that he's not seeing enough. Okay, which is good because now what we're going to be talking about. Well, last thing I wanted to add to this great book, it has tests at the end over the chapter content. Not all books do that, but I really like, those kind of, did I get that idea? And I try to do that too, especially in private lessons. Okay. Oh, you got it? Cool. That was your first chess book. Excellent. It's worthy. It's very worthy. Time to spend with it. Okay. All right. There is a chess warning to this book, though. Coach Santos is going to tell you this. We have to be careful about theoretical positions. Okay, some of these positions in the book just never occur. Never, never, ever occur. Learn these rules, and it's like I can't remember 100 rules. There's another book out there that or two or three that tell you need to learn all these rules, and then to the end game, I'm like, I got a small brain. All right. This ain't helping and everything. Like, because I'm trying to use my clock time and I'm looking at my clock and I got 10 minutes left on my clock. I don't remember rule number 63. That was useless. All right. So you have to be careful with books that are thick on the theoretical learning. Okay. It's supposed to be a small part. Okay. Small pieces, maybe like a little bit every day or something. All right. One or two of puzzles or two themes or one rule I might be able to learn and stuff. But you're not really likely to get into those kind of positions. So it's kind of useless in a way. Okay. What you're here for, and what Coach Santos is, I'm trying to lead you to the right idea. Okay. And the focus is like, tonight finding that pawn that you need to push and helping that pawn by getting your king into the game. Okay. So I was going to do this chess workout time with you guys, and maybe we'll save this for next week or something. It's called a win, lose, or draw position. I show you a position like this, and then you, as chess players, tell me, ooh, this is, I've seen this before. It's called the square of the pawn here, but is this position a win for white? Is it a loss or is it a draw?
Draw.
Okay, you see, that's kind of what you want in a chess puzzle. It's like, I don't want to work all this out here. Okay, I should be getting this. Okay, but if I don't get them, then the idea is like, well, I want to make sure that again, I know the ideas to these positions here. And like I said, we can go over some of these next week, and we can also be going over because some of these are again good drawing ideas that I've seen you guys do. You have a stalemate opportunity and you go the wrong way. It's like, why? The idea isn't there of getting the king in front of the pawn. Okay. That's what I do. Okay. When I'm at the chessboard and I'm in such a position, I'm like, I don't remember this rule. Get the king in front of the pawn, you're going to be fine. Okay. Get them two squares in front of the pawn. Should be even easier. Okay. That's what we're trying to do and these puzzles. So again, lots of little puzzles here. I don't want to go through them all right now. I want to get to the quick game here of the day. And so I have a cool chess story. The cool chess story is I was actually playing chess with a friend, and my friend says, I got one of these brand new Excalibur 3 chess boards here. This thing is so smart. This is back in 2003, okay? And this is like super high tech. And I said, no, I can beat this thing. Let me show you how to do this. Um, so let's do this, okay? I'm going to pull up the game here on Lichess and show this to you guys. All right. All right. So coach has the white pieces here, and excuse me, Penelope, they can't see. Okay. Let me see here. All right. So I'll go king's pawn, and then he does like this. And then I just get into the Rui Lopez, and I love playing the Rui Lopez back in my old days. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I trade and do the exchange variation. There is some tactics here. I gave black doubled pawns and an open file for an attack on the e pawn. So I'm going to castle here and f6. So this is book. Now I want to brag about this opening. You should try this and sometime and even in practice, because a lot of chess players cannot find this move f6. They're afraid to play f6. Their coaches tell them never play f6, like Grandmaster Ben Feingold does. Okay, and this only helps because you know the theory, they don't. You know the tricks, so you're going to get a good position. I did this in my first tournament, won my game very easy too. All right, anyways, d4, E takes D4, knight takes D4, C5, knight B3. And now we have an exchange of the queens. Can everybody see this? We're entering into an endgame. This is where we're going to start planning. Okay. And the planning is pretty simple. I'm going to create some weaknesses on the queen side, and I see that I need to generally, I want to push my pawns forward here, but I'm going to have to start attacking some pawns. Quick development is also key here. F3 is good because I can actually get my king into the center. Bishop goes to E6, knight C3, and then bishop D6, bishop E3, B6, and now for a surprising move, A4. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Again, this and part of this cool chess story is I'm following a game of Bobby Fischer versus Boris Spassky in 1992. It's a very famous game. And I go, this move right here kind of baffles computers. And this is how I got this. My friend said, if you can beat the computer, I will give you this $300 chess set. Coach, how we doing on our time?
We have 1 minute till the tournament starts. I can push it back a few minutes if you want.
Push it back like, yeah, a few minutes.
Okay.
This shouldn't take me too much longer. Okay. So both sides of castle, we're entering to some kind of middle game position here, and I don't have to think very long and hard about this because again, I've replayed this game many times. I'm like, why is Coach Santos actually getting to this? Because the computer's rating is like 2200. I'm like, right. But this is kind of where the book of the computer ends. It doesn't know what to do. And so, actually, again, Bobby Fischer is the one that's playing with the white pieces, and he plays A5 against Boris Spassky. All right. So, Boris plays correctly. Like I got to move my king forward here and protect the queen side, but dynamics are happening here. He's kind of castled where all my pieces are at. So here is the Bobby Fischer brilliant move. Double exclam. Pawn to E5 like this. Boris doesn't know what to do, and he goes back like this, and then if all the exchanges start to happen, then there starts to be some tactics here with knight to E4. I won't get into that just yet. So when I play E5, I know the computer is actually going to munch on the pawn because computers at that day and time are very programmed to munch on material. You are at a material loss, and the computer was telling me I have a big fat F for failure. And because I gave up a material advantage. All right, but I know better than that. I can see what the computer cannot see. I have studied this position. Um, what do we call that last time, Coach Joseph? We call this adjournment, right? All right. So I've studied this position with some other chess master friends and tell them, what do you think about this? I take the pawn and the computer takes back like this. And then just like Bobby Fischer did in the game, knight to E4, we got a double attack. And then the computer does not want to lose the bishop. So it goes back like this. Like magic, Coach Santos says, wait a minute. If I start exchanging here, I better be in a good position. Oh, yes. Actually, that bishop is going to be farther away from this pawn right here. What makes that pawn so special, Coach Santos? Well, I do have a lot of pieces pointing at it. And also, can you tell that there is a possible fork in the near future? Okay. I was very nervous to do this because I'm like, tactics. No fear. Okay. No fear. Coach Santos to the rescue. Trades, and super cool move. Check to your miserable king. Give me your bishop. Munch? No. Check to your miserable king, I said. And then the computer looks at me because it's just a computer. And then I just, whoops. There was no more backup, buddy, on that pawn. My pieces are in action now. Give me your rookie cookie. Sorry, that's mine. You can't have it. It's a delicious cookie. All right. Thanks for the free bishop here. And coach is like, he's winning him by 2 pawns. No, I'm winning by a whole lot more than 2 pawns. So the next idea is how do I get these pawns to go and promote? All right. Now, honestly, I had to grind this out here because it's a computer. But I think you could tell too, like this isn't going to be hard for coach to actually do all this stuff because it's just taking pawns and trading off pieces out the chessboard here, and then just a total liquidation. This isn't going to be difficult, to do. All right. But again, I was a very young chess player at the time and a little scared, but not really scared at all. Okay. I think anybody can win this from here. Right? Right. Good. Okay. So again, the magic moment, all right, and this whole entire game as I'm going back here is we've gone through the exchanges here. I have all my pieces loaded up here. I'm trying to figure out too, like, okay, I don't want to be pushing pawns in front of my king. I'm gonna be focusing my attention to the queen side of the board here. Let's get these pawns pushed here. So the first one again is a4, castling right into the danger zone, and then boom, let's shake the room. All right, and just destroy all of the castling possibilities of keeping that king safe. Just so you know, and remember too, if you even throw a pawn out there and replay this game in a tournament, you let me know because these guys are more than happy to munch on this. And then you're like, oh, I've seen Coach Santos do this before. So what helped me win this game was actually remembering that Bobby Fischer game here, and also to remember that computers are materialistic and they don't know at all what to do. They can't think on themselves. They can only think of what they're programmed to do. It's programmed to defend, okay? But it's not it doesn't see sometimes so deep into positions here. And especially a Bobby Fischer game is super duper complex. So after this, I felt very at home, very at peace. So I hope that game helped you guys get better with your end games and just to keep that focus of going of like I gotta figure out my plan and chess should be going a little bit easier for me.